I've got three La Sportiva shoes that I've been testing. The Mutant, which I'm going to do a separate review on, and then the Jackal and the Kaptiva. For the cost, the Kaptiva is £140 and the Jackal is £130. I'm going to kind of lump these two together for a few reasons, mainly because the uppers are quite similar and they share quite a few common traits. But the Jackal, they describe as being like the Akasha but lighter, so really long miles ultra shoe. Fairly light for that kind of shoe. My size 11 is coming in at about 350 grams. The Kaptiva, more of a short distance race shoe, and mine's coming in, UK size 11, at about 340 grams per shoe. So the Jackal, ultra distances, and the Kaptiva, medium distances, both trail mountain running shoes. So the uppers are kind of similar in terms of shape and fabrics and overlays. They both sort of have a gusseted tongue, but in a different way. The Jackal has more of a sort of overlaid cage with a gusseted tongue, and the Kaptiva is more of a one-piece upper with a tongue inbuilt, still with this kind of outer cage. I really like both of these uppers. They're both breathable. They both cinch up nicely in the midfoot. The heel cups for me are comfortable. Some people have some issues around the Achilles because they don't have any kind of cutaway here. Weirdly, it's the Kaptiva that has the most comfort around the heel, and the longer distance shoe, the Jackal, is actually a little bit firmer around here. Okay, so the main reason I wanted to sort of lump these into together is they have a slightly unusual feel when you put your foot first into them. The only way I can think of describing it is if you get a zero drop shoe, then you put your foot in it and the footbed feels flat. A shoe with loads of drop, it feels like this. With both of these shoes, to me, it feels kind of like this, if the shoe. So it feels sort of flat for your heel and flat for your forefoot, and there's definitely this kind of shape going on. It is a bit unusual when you first put your foot in, and I notice it walking around the house, and then I don't notice it when I go for a run. So maybe it's not an issue. There's a similar amount of drop, 7mm in the Jackal and 6mm in the Kaptiva from heel to toe. The midsole is a fairly standard sort of EVA, especially in the Kaptiva. The Jackal actually has some more interesting, more responsive kind of pods inside. So though it looks like a fairly standard EVA, it does definitely have a bit more, not like a really responsive, bouncy feel, but definitely a little bit more comfort in there. So the Kaptiva has an EVA rock guard, which is a less foamed up, a more compressed EVA plasticky guard. You still get good ground feel, but you're not getting hurt by rocks. The Jackal also has a rock guard, also a lot more midsole, so you're not really ever going to feel too much in the way of rocks punching up and hurting your feet. And the responsive feel comes from some PU pods inside, polyurethane pods, which they call Infini2. They seem to definitely provide something of a responsive feel. The philosophy that they've gone with in terms of the EVA densities, there's two densities going on. The design they've gone for is firmer in the heel than in the forefoot, which is probably traditionally more normal, but you do have brands like Hoka doing the opposite, and what they say is that you should be firmer in the forefoot, so you've got the responsive toe off, and then softer in the heel, so as you heel strike down hills, it's more comfortable. So the opposing philosophies, it's not that one's right or one's wrong. The only thing worth mentioning is because it's firmer, I think the drop feels more. It's one of those unusual shoes where the 6 or 7mm I think feels more like 10mm, and I think that is because it's softer in the forefoot, so it does that. Right, so I'm going to go for pros and cons. Pros for both shoes is kind of the same. The uppers feel really good. There's good width in the forefoot. The midfoot cinches down nicely. The heel cups are pretty good, although slightly better in the Kaptiva. And for my cons for both shoes, the problem for me is grip. I've ran in 2 national parks, Peak District and Snowdonia, and yeah, they're the wrong shoe. I ran in the Kaptiva, the wrong shoe for a wet day in Snowdonia. So it's not really the shoe's fault. Yeah, they don't provide much grip when it gets wet. And just measuring these lugs, they're kind of like 3mm. Both outsoles have IBS, which is a shame for them. That's impact brake system. I think that's just to do with the design of the lugs. So for UK running, the Kaptiva may not provide enough grip if you constantly find yourselves in wet and sloppy conditions. It's probably designed for quite dry, rocky, mountainous conditions. And that's kind of the strange thing really, that I had really good runs up in the fells where you feel a bit more exposed and like you're doing some kind of hardcore running, but it just drains better. So as long as it's been a fairly dry day, I was getting enough grip. Conversely, I ran on a low footpath next to a reservoir, and it's a bit muddy, and I was all over the place with these. So if you run in tacky, sticky, muddy conditions, these probably won't give you enough grip. Really nice uppers, uninteresting midsole, not loads of grip on the outsole, but the all-round package is it's just a good trail shoe. Now in the Jackal, I was getting a little bit more grip from the outsole. Still not enough. If you, again, are running in sloppy, muddy conditions, the shoe's not designed for that. It's not the fault of the shoe, but in the UK, it does happen quite a bit. So scores on the doors for the Kaptiva. I'm going to say peak possible. If you run in rockier, harder conditions or places that drain well and don't get thick and muddy, you're going to have some good fun in that shoe. And for the Jackal, I'm going to say peak proof. It's a little bit more impressive a shoe, and it's £10 less. The midsole is a little bit more interesting. You get a bit more comfort. I found it a more useful shoe. So the Kaptiva and the Jackal, both good trail shoes. I'd be really interested to know what other people think and how they get on with theirs. Are they grippy enough for you? Are they light enough? Are they just a really good all-rounder? Are they more different to each other than I'm suggesting?